What kind of beginner are you? Are you someone who jumps in with both feet and doesn't look back? Or do you take quiet, gentle steps forward with a plan of action? Hi there, and welcome to Beyond the Shuffle, a podcast where we explore this wild ride of the human experience through the lens of tarot. I'm Adrienne Amari, your host, guide, and starter of many things. So settle in, open your mind, and let's go beyond the shuffle. Now, I don't know about you, but I feel like March is bringing a huge amount of shifts into our lives, into the world, and I am here for it. Things are picking up momentum, there's lots of new stuff starting, and I thought it would be fun today to talk about the aces and the pages, because I know a lot of people really get those two confused and start interpreting them kind of the same way all the time. So I want to talk to you about the way I view these 8 different cards. We have 4 aces, 4 pages, one for every suit in the tarot. And I hope that it will give you a bit of a new perspective on what these cards might mean when they show up in your life. So let's start with our 4 aces. We have the Ace of Wands, the Ace of Cups, the Ace of Swords, and the Ace of Pentacles. Aces are the first card of their suit. They're the very beginning. Sometimes they're even called number 1. And you'll notice in the Rider-Waite-Smith version, every one of the aces has a hand on it. A lot of the time, I think of the aces as offerings, and I always say aces are potential. They're never the guarantee of anything. So when an ace shows up in a reading, the door is wide open, but you still have to make the conscious choice to go through it. And I think sometimes moving ourselves through that threshold can be where we face a lot of resistance. So we've established that aces are the start, they're the beginning, they're the open door, but what do each of them actually mean? So we have the Ace of Wands, and to me, I always think of that as the spark. It's something igniting. It's exciting, it's passion, it's ambition, it's drive, it's something we're ready to jump out of bed for and get a move on with. And I find a lot of the time when this card comes up, it's not the ideas that are the problem. We have probably 1,000,001. It's actually choosing it and putting it into action. The potential to really create something is here with the Ace of Wands, but what are we going to do with that flame or that power of creation? We can let it fade out, or we can light this thing on fire. Now, I promise I'm not going to tell you a story for every single card, but this one always makes me think of the Ace of Wands, or I should actually say the Ace of Wands always makes me think of this reading. But I was doing readings at a shopping mall, which I know sounds different, but it was an event held at a shopping mall, and I had a girl come with her friend, and she sat down just wanting a general reading. She didn't really have a question, so I decided to do a Celtic cross. And the first card, which is kind of like the present, what's going on, where you are right now, she pulled the Ace of Wands, and I said to her, it seems like you kind of have a new lease on life, like you're excited again. There's something new going on, a new spark that's been ignited within you. And she just had the biggest smile on her face. She completely lit up, and that just made me so happy. And we continued the reading. We did the whole reading first, and then she said, "Can I tell you something?" And I said, "Of course." And she shared a little bit of her story with me, but it turns out that she had had a really bad addiction that she had been dealing with for many, many years, and she was coming up to a year sober. And being able to prove to herself that she could do this gave her a completely new look on life. She was feeling good. She was ready to take on the world. She had new goals, new dreams, new ambitions, new energy to accomplish it all. And that's what I think of now when I think of the Ace of Wands. And how powerful could that be if you took the wand and actually utilized it? Now, with the Ace of Cups, I always think your cup runneth over, because it is overflowing with that water, with that emotion, that joy of living, happiness, connection, intuition. And again, it's the potential for all that. That all exists for you. So what are we going to do with it? My favorite version of the Ace of Cups is from the Prismavisions Tarot, which if you know me at all, I'm sure is not a surprise because I talk about this deck all the time. But it's a fountain and the water is just overpouring on it and it's beautiful. And when I see the Ace of Cups, I really think we just have to be open to receiving. So much of the time, we feel like we have to do and give and put out there, but sometimes it's not the active outward energy that we need, it's the inward receptive energy that we need. We need to be able to receive that joy and that love and that connection in our lives. And I think sometimes we close ourselves off to it. So when the Ace comes up, it's like there's this freshness here. Let's do it. Let's open ourselves. Let's allow that into our lives. The Ace of Swords gives us that aha moment, that clarity, that mental breakthrough. I always think of it as the clouds opening and the sunlight pouring down because the way forward suddenly feels real and clear. The Ace of Swords encourages us to be honest, to use our words to express ourselves, to say or ask for what we need. Because if we don't do that, how is anybody going to know? How are we going to get that clarity if we sit in the darkness? And I think it's also important to remember that with the Ace of Swords, you have two options. You can grab that sword and wield it for all the power that it has, or you can turn it on yourself and stab yourself, basically. And we do that so often, metaphorically, with our thoughts and the way we talk to ourselves. It's quite literally a double-edged sword. So while the potential for greatness is there, it has to be our choice to wield it for such. And then with our Ace of Pentacles, we have that new seed. That opportunity is right there in front of you. The hand is holding it open. There's the archway to the garden, which we can choose to go through. But that seed won't plant itself. So while it might be ripe with opportunity, we still have to put in the work, the time, the energy, the investment of our resources to make it grow, to have it be something that comes to fruition. And it's not going to come today or tomorrow. It's not going to come the moment we plant it. It's going to take time. But if we don't take that opportunity, if we don't plant that seed, how is anything ever going to come of it? And what I love about the Ace of Pentacles, it's a really good card for manifestation in the material world. And it's a great omen for success as long as we're willing to put in the work, because we do have to go through the whole journey. With all of the aces, we have to go through the whole journey of the suit to get to the finish line. The Ace of Pentacles also makes me think, and I am not going to say this phrase correctly, but the sentiment where it's like, if you just start investing today, investing now is better than starting to invest tomorrow. And that's kind of how I see the Ace of Pentacles, where it's like plant the seed now, start the work now, so that you have the time to enjoy the fruits of the labor versus waiting and waiting and waiting. None of the aces are saying you have to have it figured out, and none of the pages mean that either. These are all beginning cards, so if we don't have the whole plan figured out as we're starting, that's okay. But the aces say, there's potential, there's possibility, it's here, it's waiting for you. It's your turn. It's your turn to make a choice, it's your turn to act. And it's interesting too, because if you think of the aces, the next step after all of them is a 2. It's a fork in the road. It's a choice we have to make. It's a decision. It's a duality that comes up. But we can't get there if we don't start. By not starting, by not taking the advantage of the ace, by not going through the door, we miss out on a choice. And sitting in limbo and just looking through that threshold is still a choice. And I think a lot of people see aces and they think, oh, new beginnings. And 100% it is a new beginning. But we have to look for the realm or the suit to see where that new beginning lies. So again, Ace of Wands is a new beginning of ambition, of passion, of action, of an idea that we want to put into reality. The Ace of Cups is a new beginning of connection, of joy, of emotional fulfillment, or emotions even just moving. The Ace of Swords is a new beginning of thought, new ideas, even a new sense of honesty within ourselves. And the Ace of Pentacles is a new opportunity that can bloom into something great, again, if we're willing to put in the effort. So there we have all of our aces. Let's take a look at the pages as well. And this is where people see, oh, page, they're young, it's a new beginning. And it also can be a new beginning in a way. But I always see pages as more grounded. So where the aces are the doors open, the potential, the possibility is there, the pages are actually the ones at the threshold moving through the door. So I see them as the ones that are actually receptive to that energy, living in that energy, because they're wanting to actually move forward. Pages want to become knights who want to become queens and kings. So there is a natural progression there. And pages, while they can be young or naive, inexperienced, they're not coming in with absolutely zero experience. They have a little bit of a baseline there. If you think about it this way, they're kind of at the beginning of the Choose Your Own Adventure book, and they've chosen their character. They're still on the early pages, but they're getting into it. Now, because there is the inexperience of the page and they're still fresh, there is always a little bit of nervousness there. That's how I always see it. I wouldn't say nervousness that holds them back, but kind of that like, ooh, that butterfly energy. So let's look at that in the context of the Page of Wands. The Page of Wands is excited for new adventure. They have their little safari hat on. There's the pyramids in the background. They're ready to get out there and explore what life has to offer. They're full of energy. They can get frustrated if things don't start moving for them. They have lots of ideas, and they really want to be brave about their next steps. Now, that's not saying that they're fearless. I've seen many different resources list fearless as a key word for the Page of Wands. That's not one I would actually personally use, because I honestly don't think the Page of Wands is fearless. I think they go forth despite their fear, and I think that's a really powerful part of the Page of Wands, where it's like, I'm new to this, I don't really know where everything is going to end up right now, I have a bit of a plan, I know what direction I'm heading in, I'm excited, it's this new adventure, I'm going to see new territory. And it's that excited anticipation that also gives us a little bit of those nerves. But despite that, the page is like, let's go, let's get on with it, because if they aren't moving forward, they're feeling restless. And I always think of the Page of Wands as saying, try this new thing. Do the side quest, basically. Now with our Page of Cups, that is the page who is talking to the fish. Their outfit's a little bit silly. They're wearing a weird fish hat. And to me, this is just the card of whimsy. I always think of the Page of Cups as the eternal dreamer of the tarot. They are happy to live in their imagination, to live in their daydreams, to see where those take them. They want to see the beauty and the awe and the inspiration, and they truly believe that the sky's the limit, that the impossible is possible. They're sensitive, they wear their heart on their sleeve. They can be emotionally immature a little bit as well, because they're still figuring out how to deal with all this emotional stuff. It can really be the encouragement to explore your creative side, especially as a way of emotional expression or catharsis. They can be messages and also the reminder to connect with that inner child part of yourself, the part that knows how to experience that kind of beauty and joy in the world around them, in the people around them. The Page of Cups can be puppy love or a crush or that point in a relationship where you still have butterflies in your stomach. But we can see as with the Ace of Cups, it's the potential is there, and the Page of Cups is actually feeling all of that. And I always see the Page of Cups as that reminder to not let go of your dreams. Because sometimes I think the older we get, the more we let go of those dreams. That we tell ourselves it's not possible, it can't happen for us, we're too old for that. And the Page of Cups can come up for anyone at any stage in life and remind us that there's still a freshness there for us. There's still more opportunity, more potential, more daydreams, more limitlessness. So embrace it. Next up, we have our Page of Swords, which is actually my personal favorite of the pages and the aces, to be honest with you. I always personally identify with the Page of Swords. I feel a little bit of that anxious, ooh, I'm on the edge of a cliff energy, that curiosity, that wanting to keep themselves safe, but still wanting to learn and figure it out. The Page of Swords is the one who is open to all of the new ideas, and it really tells us not to settle on one specific opinion, point of view, or way of thinking. It's being open to learning about all those different elements. And then when we get to the Knight, Queen, and King, we can really choose our path. But we're just absorbing. I feel like the Page of Swords is a sponge. They're soaking it all in. They're asking questions. They're reading books. They're listening to podcasts, having lively debates and conversations. And my favorite part about the Page of Swords is their curiosity and their openness to learning about new ways of thinking, of being, of seeing the world, really. But because the Page of Swords is still figuring out how to control that wild mind of theirs, they can be prone to anxiety, overthinking, going too deeply down the rabbit hole. We could even go as far as saying there might be bouts of paranoia depending how much their thoughts start to take control, because that's still what they're grappling with. I feel like where the Ace of Swords are the new thoughts, new ideas, the clarity, the breakthrough, the being honest with yourself, the Page of Swords is what that actually looks like in real life. It's those moments where we second guess, where we think we're being honest with ourselves, but then we learn or hear or experience something different that changes our perspective. But the Page of Swords loves to chat. They love the sharing of ideas, a lively debate. And of course, once they really feel like they have something figured out, they graduate to that Knight of Swords, who's the one that's actually taking action towards a specific idea. But the page has to go through that absorption phase so that they can become the Knight and get really clear on that. And then, of course, we have our Page of Pentacles. And this is the page I call the eternal student of the tarot, where the Ace of Pentacles is planting those new seeds to see what's going to grow. The Page of Pentacles is really about making your plan, figuring it out, learning as you go, and taking those steps into whatever it is you're building or creating. The Page of Pentacles is loyal and dedicated and hardworking and vigilant in what they're doing. They like a plan. They like to have an idea of where things are going. They like to experience more tactile things. So if we're thinking of students, the Page of Pentacles to me would indicate that this person likes to learn by doing. They're probably the most focused and the most grounded of the pages. And that's not to say that they don't have any shortcomings. The Page of Pentacles can be lazy. They can feel stuck if they don't feel like they're good enough at something, or if they don't feel like they have a solid plan, or if they feel like there's no practical point to doing something, it's harder for them to get up and do. Whereas, let's say the Page of Cups would do it just because it sparks their imagination, or the Page of Swords would do something to follow the curiosity of the experiment. And with the Page of Swords, I forgot to say this, they can also be seen as messengers, where I don't think I would say that for the Page of Pentacles. But that Page of Pentacles is the reminder that it's okay to be a beginner again, very much like the Fool, but more grounded energy in that. And it reminds us that we can figure it out as we go. We are capable. We can learn as we go. So even if we're starting at square one with a certain skill, we have other skills that we can utilize to make our way through. Utilize in conjunction with learning something new. So I hope talking through all of the aces and pages gives you some ideas of maybe how you could see these sets of cards differently. Either way, I love when they show up in a reading. Any of them. I'm happy to see any of them, to be honest with you, because I think both bring such a fresh energy into the situation. I just think that you're starting at different points. So again, with the aces, it's the open door. With the pages, we've actually stepped through. Or at the very least, we're close to stepping through. And if you like this kind of comparison and these different ways of looking at the cards, join me in the Tarot Lab. It's my monthly membership program that consists of masterclasses, tarot practice sessions, office hours, monthly challenges, a WhatsApp community to chat all about tarot, to get the support that you need to feel confident in your reading. And as we all know, I think tarot should be fun. So it's not just about memorizing a bunch of cards, it's learning how to relate to them, to connect to them, and then to connect them with one another for readings that are comprehensive and fluid. So if you're curious about the Tarot Lab, make sure you check out adrianomari.com/the Tarot Lab. I'm also hosting a free workshop on March 18th called Reading Tarot for Yourself. So if you struggle doing readings for you personally, maybe you get too in your head, or you're like, this makes no sense in my life, maybe your ego's kind of getting in the way, you can register on my website for that as well, adrianamari.com. Now, instead of a collective reading this week, I would actually love to leave you, that's hard to say, I would love to leave you with a challenge. I want you to grab your tarot deck, or if you don't have a tarot deck, you can just look at the pictures on the internet, but I want you to choose an ace or a page for you to embody this week. If you choose an ace, I want you to keep your eyes open for doors opening in that realm of life. So for example, if you choose the Ace of Cups, I want you to really open yourself to meeting someone new or reconnecting with someone you've lost touch with. Not toxic exes. Again, we're not going there. But I want you to pay attention to all the opportunities. If you can write them down, that's even better. But when you're looking, especially for a specific type of opportunity, you will see it more and more and more. So again, if it's the Ace of Wands, I want you to pay attention to those sparks that flare up in your gut. Not like indigestion or heartburn, but where it's like, oh, I really want to take action on this. And I'm not saying do everything. We just want to notice it and be open to it. And of course, if it feels right for you, act upon it. But the challenge isn't to take the action at this point. The challenge is to notice and to be open to all of those doors. Now, if you pull a page, I want you to do something the page would do. I want you to take an action. So if you pull the Page of Wands, try something new this week. And it doesn't have to be something terrifyingly out of your comfort zone. Maybe you go to a new restaurant. Maybe you try a new type of food. Maybe you go for a walk in a different place. Make it something that you can actually do, that you will actually do. If you pull the Page of Pentacles, I want you to make a plan of action, the next steps for your goals, and maybe, if you can, even complete one. But I always say the best way to understand the tarot is to see how you experience it in your everyday life. So I want you to experience these aces and pages because I promise that will help you differentiate when they're popping up in a reading, what they should mean and what they feel like. And if you enjoyed this podcast, I would love if you gave it a like and a follow. Leave a nice comment if there was something here that you were like, oh, I liked that way of looking at it, because I would love to know. You can always follow me on Instagram at instagram.com/beyondtheshufflepodcast or instagram.com/AdrianAmariTarot. But thank you so much for being here. If there's ever a topic you want me to talk about relating to the cards, let me know. And I'll see you next week on Beyond the Shuffle.